It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Virginia Cavaliers head women's rowing coach, Coach Kevin Sauer. How are you doing today?
Brandon, I'm fine.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into the sport of coaching college rowing?
That's a great story. So I didn't know that I wanted to get into coaching college rowing. I was a rower myself for Purdue, and I made a couple of national teams right, but during school and after. And I was offered while I was in grad school to coach the novice women and the novice men. And I thought, okay, I'm done. Finished my grad degree. I'm off, and then they offered me the head job. Club sport, $4,000 a year. How could I turn it down? Right. So I did some odd jobs, basically built some houses, hog barns, stuff like that in Indiana, and coached Purdue for 4 years. And then we had success, and I got an offer to come coach at Yale. And then I realized, wow, maybe I'm a coach. So really, that's how it happened.
What was that experience like of going to Purdue and competing as an athlete?
Well, it was awesome. I went there originally to play football, and I got hurt and couldn't play anymore. Somebody said I should try rowing, and I gave it a shot. And that was 50 years ago this past fall.
Of course, while at Purdue, what was it like going to the Olympics?
Well, I didn't go to the Olympics while I was at Purdue. I didn't go to the Olympics until 2016 in Rio. I was a coach there. I tried for the Olympic team 3 different times. 76 missed out by a little bit. 80 we boycotted, and 84 I missed out in the trials by a little bit as well. So didn't get my Olympic experience until I actually was a coach in 2016. I did help build the rowing courses in 1984 and 1996. So I was there at the Olympics for that, but not as a participant, just as a contractor.
What was that experience like of building the courses that obviously the athletes would be rowing in?
Yeah, well, I athlete myself, and being rowing on courses internationally all over the world, I was appreciative of how important it is to actually build a course and do it well. So the fact that I was able to do that once my career was over was actually pretty satisfying, to be able to build something from scratch like that, both at Lake Casitas in California, natural lake from scratch, and then Lake Lanier in Georgia for 96. I just did it from scratch, learned how to do it, and did it hopefully a good job with it. So it's very satisfying.
How was it like, obviously, going from building to coaching?
Well, I was coaching while I was doing the courses. So I started coaching in the fall of 76 and still am. So I was doing the courses in the summertime. So I was coaching while I was doing the courses, but both a combination of, rowing coaching doesn't pay a ton, right? It's not football or basketball. So I was always looking for other ways to provide for my family. So I picked up this side hustle of building rowing courses.
What was that experience like of going to the Olympics to build it versus going to the Pan American Games to build a course and the World Championship?
World Championships are a big deal. We did that at 94 in Indianapolis. Pan American Games also in Indianapolis in 1987. It's just the Olympics are a whole nother, as you know, from watching, the Winter Olympics right now and, the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. It's a way bigger deal than a Pan American Games or even the World Championships. Number one, because it's every 4 years. And number two is it's just, world renowned. It's on TV. There's just a lot. Everybody's, represented, every sport, so World Championships is just rowing. Pan American Games, just the Western Hemisphere, and not as many sports. Olympics, every country, every sport, pretty cool.
What was that like in 75 and 77 being on the Olympic team?
Well, not the Olympic team and the national team. That was very cool. Rowing at the Pan American Games and then also the World Championships. A long time ago now, Brandon, but very, very satisfying to work that hard and be able to represent your country. Is pretty special.
How has obviously your World Championships helped you into the coach you are now?
Rowing at the World Championship level, at that level, I think gives me a perspective of excellence, because that you're a world-class athlete and what's expected of that, and then to be able to impart that knowledge and that passion and that drive to coaching is important. You got to be able to communicate what you know, and that's a big part of coaching, is be able to communicate. It was very satisfying to be able to do that myself and then be able to impart that to the kids that I've coached.
How is that like going back to your alma mater of Purdue to become the head coach?
Well, I did that twice. I was in school when I started coaching, and then, was a coach for 4 years there before I left for Yale. But, I missed being a head coach. And so I came back to Purdue for 2 years while I built the course in Indianapolis for the Pan American Games, and be able to be back at Purdue was really satisfying. I really feel that if Purdue had been a full-time position at Purdue from the beginning, like it is now, I would still be there. I'd be in year 46 at Purdue, but while I was there, they just couldn't make it a full-time position that I could provide for my family. So I had to leave, but now it's a great funded position, even though it's still a club sport. It's funded by the university, and it's a fantastic position. And I wish that would have happened for me back in the day, but I'm very happy at the University of Virginia too.
What were some of your accomplishments at your alma mater as head coach?
Probably the biggest accomplishment was, as a club sport, beating Wisconsin at the Midwest Championship, 81 and 82. Wisconsin's a well-funded varsity program on their home water, and be able to come up to Madison, Wisconsin with this ragtag group of farmers from Purdue, and with no budget, hardly any budget, bad boathouse, bad water, but really, really tough kids. That was very satisfying.
What were some of your accomplishments during your short time at Yale?
That was a very fruitful time for me. I had a very good head coach at the time, Tony Johnson, who is a mentor of mine. I've always looked up to him very much and learned a lot from him. And he was the guy that, brought a guy from Purdue to come to Yale. Nobody does that, and he was the only one that would have done something like that, especially at the time. So that time was very fruitful for me, and our children were very small at that time, and he was very supportive. Probably the biggest accomplishment was beating Harvard in the Yale Harvard race in 1985. And that was really cool.
What was that transition like from going from Division I to Ivy League to back to Division I?
Well, it was club program to Ivy League, back to a club program. So it wasn't Division I. Purdue's Division I, but not in rowing. It's club, so not funded by the university. So yeah, that was a shock. When I went from, Indiana, Purdue club program to Yale, that was a culture shock, both personally and athletically and socially and everything. So there's a big difference between Purdue and Yale. But I learned a lot. Different kind of people, breed of cats, so to speak, different backgrounds and that type of stuff. But it was very enlightening for me, and I really appreciated the time there. Going back was great. I love Purdue. I love Indiana. But again, like I said, couldn't sustain it financially, so I had to move on.
What was it like when you got the job at Virginia?
It was one of the only jobs available that summer. I worked 1 year at U.S. Rowing in 87, 88, the Olympic year for Seoul Olympics, as a technical advisor. But I knew after about 3 weeks that that's not what I wanted to do. So I knew that I'd be looking for a coaching job the next summer after the Olympics were over with. And really, it was one of the only jobs available at the time. It was a Virginia job. It was a club sport as well. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to to put food on the table. And so club sport, not very good equipment, not a nice boathouse, no running water, no electricity in the boathouse, a porta-john in the woods. The dock sank when you stepped on it. It was not a great situation, but it was a great body of water and a great school. So I decided to take it, and persistence is a big thing. If you're able to persist and stick to it, things, then you can make something happen. And that's how it worked out. 7 years at the club, and then we had the opportunity to go varsity, and I switched over from the men to the women. And that was 1995 when, after 7 years, and then started a varsity program at Virginia with the women.
How has it been like, obviously, building Virginia rowing to a powerhouse?
A lot of work, a lot of fun, a lot of creativity. I tell people all the time, I've made a lot of chicken salad and lemonade, if you know that analogy. Put lipstick on the pig. That's an old Indiana saying. So you make do with what you have. And especially in the early goings, we had to be very creative, a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat equity. Built the boathouse basically myself. Things of the new boathouse, and got water here, got the power, into the facility. Did a lot of things that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have done, but I needed to do it, right? So make it happen. And I think we got pretty good as a club sport. And when they were looking to add a varsity sport to help with Title IX, we were right there ready to go. So it's been a wild ride, but this is year 34, so a long time, but a lot of fun and challenging, but very rewarding as well.
How has it been like, obviously, having 22 national appearances?
Well, that's the epitome, is to get the NCAA championships, right? And to get, finished in the top 6, 17 times, top 5, 17 times. And we've won twice, and we've finished 11 times in the Final Four, 9, boat championships. So it's been crazy, but a lot of fun and very rewarding.
Of course, talking about winning championships, what was that like, winning both championships?
Well, 2010 was our first, and we'd finished second 3 times before that. So, just close, but not quite there, So finally getting it done was very satisfying. And there's a lot of people that came up to me after that and said, "Kevin, finally, you deserve it," A lot of coaches and stuff were pulling for us. So very satisfying to be able to do it a couple of years later was satisfying as well. It's all about the journey, though, Brandon. It's not just about those championships, whether it be NCAA or ACC. It's about the experience day in, day out. That's what really counts. And that's what I strive to create here, as an environment where kids work really hard, have a lot of fun, and get a lot out of it, So I think that's the key, is that you really take care of each and every day, and then hopefully the results will take care of themselves.
What was that feeling like, of hoisting up the national championship and knowing that all of your hard work paid off?
Again, the journey is the most important, but the end of the journey was pretty satisfying, actually. I think nobody's going to tell you that it wasn't, to do that. But even somebody like Tom Brady, when he won his 5th Super Bowl and they were interviewing afterwards, he said, "Is that all there is?" So it's not the most important thing. It's important, but it's not the most important thing. My faith, my family are way more important. And but if you're going to work hard at something, it's nice to get rewarded in that way.
Can you talk about, of course, the championship culture that you've built for Virginia rowing?
Yeah, I was asked to speak at the U.S. Rowing Convention about 15 years ago. And they asked me to speak about creating a culture of success. And I'd done a lot of technical and physiological talks before at the convention, but I'd never done anything like that. I really didn't know what to do. So I asked a bunch of alumni and parents and kids on the team and stuff like that to give me some feedback. So they emailed me back some information, and I kind of culled out of that, what was the most important to them about our success and how we did it. And number one was care, compassion, empathy. And I think that's really important, that you care about the people that you're leading, and you really do truly care about them. Not why you do it, to forget them to work harder and run through a brick wall for you and all that kind of stuff. That's not why you do it. But if you care about them, they'll do anything. And so that's a big deal. Hard work, high standards, have fun, be passionate. I tell people all the time, you could be obsessive about only one thing in life, but you can be passionate about several. So all I ask of them is just to be passionate about rowing, and then go do other things, your studies, volunteering, your faith, your friendships. Be passionate about that as well. And then you bring back a good balance for the rowing practices each and every day.
What does a typical rowing meet look like in the ACC?
Well, so we don't have a lot of just ACC meets. We have an ACC Championship. We are scrimmaging Duke in a week and a half. But head-to-head ACC duels are fairly rare, actually. But the ACC Championships are a big deal near the end of the year. But a racing situation is you get there and you have to de-rig all the boats, take all the anchors off, right? Put them on a trailer. It's a crazy-looking trailer. I've had people when we're getting gassed. What are those rocket ships? They're 60 feet long, so it's a pretty imposing sight going down the highway. You get to the site, rig up the boats, go out for a practice the day before. The next day you have heats, and then semifinals and finals, things like that throughout the day or over a couple of days. And you're going out there and laying it down over 2,000 meters as hard as you can. And it's physically demanding sport, incredibly physically demanding. And so these kids go after it, and then you recover for a few hours and you go out and race again, and then the next day you race again, so over a 2 or 3 day period at a big race, you're going to lay down, 2 or 3 or 4 really, really hard races. And you got to recover really well. You got to fuel really well. You got to get your rest. You got to stretch really well before and after, all those things that allow you to perform as a high performance athlete. So, but it's fun. It's fun to race. That's why we do it. We don't do it just to practice. We all love to race, coaches and athletes alike. We love to race and lay it down and see where you stand.
What's it like, obviously, getting to compete against those teams like Duke and Carolina and NC State that are in your conference, but also getting to play those non-conference teams?
Yeah, so NC State doesn't have a team, but there's 9 teams in the ACC that have rowing, from Boston all the way down to Miami, and then over to Louisville, Notre Dame, Virginia, Syracuse, Carolina, Clemson. It's just crazy. There's a lot of teams that row, but the 9 schools, we see them mainly at the ACC Championships, but we get to see, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Stanford, Cal, Washington, all the big rowing schools in the country. We get to see them during the year, and so we try to schedule as hard a competitions as we can before the NCAA Championships, so we're ready for that.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go into college rowing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what, there's called the rowing machine. We call it the ergometer, rowing ergometer, the erg for short, ERG. And that's the one quantitative measure that you can get somebody in New Zealand, or Australia or the Netherlands or Germany or Canada or US, anywhere in the US. Everybody has a rowing machine available to them, and you can get a score for 1,000 meters on the rowing machine. So you can qualify them no matter where they're at. That's the starting point. That's kind of like the SAT test, that gets you noticed, and now you got to show the body of work. That's the going to class every day, right? So every practice, the races, and that type of thing. So what we're looking for is a kid that's willing to work hard, really good teammate, great attitude, comes to practice every day to go to work. So the recruiting process is like, do your work at your junior program, your high school program, and get your ERG score down. Reach out to coaches, and coaches will return the calls or the emails and that type of thing. But you got to be good. You got to be good to get recruited by top pro. Just like swimming or track. What's your time, right? Oh, you need to break a minute for the 100 fly, or we're not interested. That kind of thing. Same thing for us. You got to be fast enough on the erg to get interest, And then we start talking to you about your character. Like I said before, what kind of person are you? And what kind of student are you? UVA is a tough school, so we got to make sure that they can succeed here. So those all go into the picture.
Of course, when you're on the road, what are some of the things that you look at in them during the competition day
For our kids or for recruits?
for prospective student athletes?
Oh yeah, so we don't get to see as much as we'd like because their season's the same time as our season. So it's tough to. I can't hop on a private jet and go see somebody row, right? So it's harder to see them. So we rely on video and that type of thing. But when we can see them in the summertime, mainly at summer nationals and stuff like that, we look for kids that are racers. We look for kids that just really like to race because that's what we do. And so that don't let anything stand in our way, whether it be weather or a small injury or anything like that. That they just plow through it and make something happen. So we're looking for kids that enjoy racing and really get after it.
What does the official visit look like for prospective student athletes looking to go into college rowing?
Yeah, pretty much the same everywhere, where you take a trip and you get to see classes while you're there. You get to see a couple of practices, get to hang out with the kids at dinner. You want to get a feel for what it's like on campus, and wherever you go. And so what we try to create is a way that kids can come and see it and experience what UVA rowing is like. Whether that's at every school, right? So what's it like to row at this school or that school? Get to know the team. Our team is awesome, and a lot of kids want to be a part of it because of the environment and the culture they have. And so they're willing to work hard, to have fun, and we try to attract kids that want to do that. So the visit is so they get a chance to see, a snippet of what we're like.
Of course, what advice would you give those prospective student athletes looking to go into college rowing?
Be willing to work. It's a work ethic based sport. So you got to be able to work hard. Can't shy away from hard work. I tell people all the time, you can't Google fitness, right? It just doesn't pop up. You got to earn it each and every day. I have a saying here: entitled to nothing, grateful for everything. So if a kid is not entitled, is willing to earn what they get, and they're grateful for it, they're going to succeed. So if you're willing to work hard and keep working hard day after day after day, it's not an overnight thing. You got to earn your fitness. You got to earn your ability to endure pain because it hurts. All those things. And if you're willing to do that, be successful. The more you work, the more you get out of it.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to go on to the Olympic level?
Same thing, exact same thing. You got to be able to work and continually work over the summers, over the breaks, Thanksgiving, Christmas break, over the summer. You got to keep working. It's a year-round sport, just like swimming, for example. I need some time off. I go, okay, take a week. That's it. Get back on the horse. If you take more than that, you're going to start detraining. You got to stay on the training. And then if you want to, go to the national team, you got to notch it up more. You got to train extra. And those kids that do that are the ones that are going to be successful.
What advice would you give those college coaches looking to go either coach at their alma mater like you did, or just get into college coaching?
Yeah. So people that would want to get into that, the first thing I'd say is there's some opportunities for them. If they're successful as a college athlete, they may be able to land a third assistant job at a school, something like that, and work their way up. If not, go to a top program and volunteer for a year, because you do a really, really good job volunteering. Then that head coach is going to recommend you for the next assistant's job that's out there. So you got to be willing to make that kind of sacrifice where you work at a coffee shop for a year and invest in the program as a volunteer, and then set yourself up for maybe getting a good interview for that next open full-time position. A lot of people go into high school coaching. They'll teach and coach at a high school or a junior program. That sometimes is a path as well. But it's just like the sport itself. You're willing to work hard, willing to put in the time, then you'll probably land on your feet.
What advice would you give college coaches looking to get their first head coaching job or even become head coaches of a program?
Like I tell people all the time, it's like, if you want that next job, care the one you're in. So don't look so far ahead, like, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. Well, take care of what you're doing. And if you take care of what you're doing, then the doors will open for you. You invest completely and totally in the job you're doing right now. And if you do that well, then you'll create opportunities for yourself.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Virginia Cavaliers rowing program at?
Well, we have an Instagram page. So all they got to do is put rowing in there, Instagram. We have an Instagram page. Myself, I'm not on social media. I don't do that. But I am in the directory for, UVA athletics. If they want to reach out that way, I'm glad to talk to them or something like that, or email, but I don't do social media.
Thank you again, Coach Kevin Sauer, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the UVA rowing.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Kevin, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thanks, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.